Okay, Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. So we have finished subtopic 4.1 circles. So now for this video, we are going to continue to subtopic 4.2, which is ellipse. So here is the standard equation for ellipse, which is, as you can see, we have a horizontal ellipse with horizontal major axis and we have a vertical ellipse. So what is the difference between these two shapes? What differentiate these two shapes here? So as you can see from the equation here, we have x minus h square plus a square, y minus k square over b square is equals to 1. So here for the horizontal shape, here the difference is going to be the value of a and the value of b. So for horizontal, your value of a is greater than b, but for the vertical one, your value of a is less than b. Okay, so that is how you know the shape of your ellipse. So just look at the value of a and b. Okay, so let's go straight to the example. Not the example, I will show you how to label all the ellipse here. So you know already the equation of your ellipse: x minus h square plus y minus k square, x minus h square over a square plus y minus k square over b square is equals to 1, which is, you know that obviously with center hk. So your h and k is the center. Okay, so there are 4 keyword here for ellipse, which is you have to know what is your major axis. You have major and minor axis. Okay, so that is one thing, major and minor axis. And then the second thing, obviously you have to know the vertices, okay, or vertex. And the last thing that you have to know is foci. Okay, so this one obviously you have to know the center. So these are the three keywords that you have to know: major and minor axis, you have to know the vertices, and you also have to know the foci here. Okay, so let's see the shape of the ellipse here. So as I mentioned earlier, we differentiate the two ellipse, horizontal and vertical, by looking at the value of a and b. So as you can see from here, if we have the value of a square greater than b square, or a greater than b, so the shape is gonna be horizontal like this. So that is the first thing that you have to determine if you are doing the question. So here I am going to label all the keyword that I said earlier. So here we have the center. Okay, so this is what we call as the major axis. Okay, this is your major axis and this is your minor axis. Okay, so if the shape is vertical, obviously the major axis is vertical here. Okay, so now this is what we call as the foci. Okay, this is the center, which is HK, and here is your foci. Okay, so this is foci 1 and this is foci 2. Okay, so you know already one keyword, major and minor axis. The second one is foci 1 and foci 2, and the third one is vertices. Okay, so you have 4 coordinates of vertices. So let's say this is V1, this is V2, V3, and also V4. Okay, so that is what you need to know for ellipse. Okay, another thing, so where does this value of a, b comes from? And here we have the equation for c square. So what does it mean by all this value here? Okay, so you have to know that the distance between the vertex and center is a here. Okay, distance between vertex and center is labeled as a. Okay, for your major axis. Okay, so the distance between the vertex and the center here, vertical, is b. Okay, so tak kisah the shape is vertical or horizontal, this horizontal distance between vertex and center is always going to be a. Okay, so this vertical distance between center and vertex is always going to be b. So that's why you know that the difference between the two shapes is the value of a and b. Okay, then we have the value of c. So c is basically just the distance between the center and the foci here. Okay, so this is the value of c. So that is what you need to know. Okay, so here horizontal distance between vertex and center is A. Vertical distance between vertex and center is B. And the distance between foci and center is C. So that is all what you need to know. So now, let's see the equation, the standard equation here. So we have the equation x minus h square over a square plus y minus k square over b square is equals to 1. Okay, which is, since this is a horizontal ellipse, so your a square has to be greater than b square. Okay, so one more important thing that you have to know is your foci always lies on the major axis. Okay, so this is one thing that you have to know. Foci always lies on major axis. Alright, so now let's see. Now we have the major axis here. So for horizontal ellipse, the major axis here is obviously the horizontal or x-axis, which is when y is equals to k. Okay, so this is horizontal. So the minor axis is obviously your y-axis, which is here we label as x is equals to h. Okay, which is hk is your center. So one more thing that you have to know for major and minor axis is the length of major axis. So where is the length of major axis? From vertex 1 to vertex 2 is the length of the major axis. Okay, so you know that this is A, so this is A, so that means the length of the major axis is 2A. Okay, so length of major axis is equals to 2A. And also we have the length of the minor axis, which is, we know that the vertical distance between vertex and center here is B, and this one is also B. That means the length of the minor axis here is equals to B. Okay, so center, we know that the center is HK. So now let's find the vertices. So major vertices basically lies on the major axis. So we know that this is our major axis. So this is major vertices. Okay, we call that as major vertices. So you know what is the same thing, the coordinate that is the vertex 1 and vertex 2, which coordinate is the same? Okay, so obviously this one is on y, k here. So k here will be the same. So here will be k, here will be k. So the only thing that will change here is the coordinate of x here. Okay, so how are we going to find the value of x there? Okay, let's see for v1 here. Okay, so we know that the distance between the center and the vertex here is a. Okay, so we know that the value of k doesn't change. So here is k. Okay, so that means your value of x, the coordinate of x for vertex 1 is h minus a. Okay, macam mana boleh dapat tu? Everything on the left and below of the center. Okay, this is your center. Everything on the left, below the center, you have to minus. Okay, everything on the right and above the center, you have to plus. Okay, plus by apa? Obviously by the distance. Since we know that this is a, so h minus by a here. So we get the coordinate of x there. Okay, so we know that the coordinate of v1 is equals to h minus a, k. Okay, so let's see coordinate of v2 here. So doesn't change, is k. So this one is on the right, so h plus by a. Okay, so that is your v2. So v2 is equals to h plus a, k. Okay, so let's see the minor vertices. So here we have the minor vertices. So what coordinate is the same here? Is it x or y? So obviously it's on the minor vertices. So the minor vertices here is x is equals to h. Okay, this will be the same here. The value of x here will be the same, which is h here and h also here. Okay, the only thing that will change here is the y coordinate. So now the distance between the center and the vertex here is b. Okay, if the coordinate of vertex is above the center, you have to plus. So here we have k, plus by the distance, which is b. So the coordinate here will be v3 is equals to h, because x coordinate didn't change, so here will be k plus b. And the last vertex here is v4. Okay, the x coordinate didn't change, h. So here we have k, the distance is b, so below the center, that means you have to plus minus by b. Okay, so here will be h, k minus b. Okay, so all these things, make sure you know how to find the foci and the major vertex. Okay, so we are going to see the foci first. So here we have the foci, the same thing, left, okay, left below minus, above right, you are going to plus. Okay, so foci, so this is your foci. So what doesn't change? Which coordinate doesn't change? So here, obviously the k didn't change, just leave it as it is. So the only coordinate that will change here is your x coordinate. So we have h here. Since foci is on the left, this foci here is on the left, so you have to minus. Minus by what? By the distance between the center and the foci, which is the distance here is c. So here we have h minus c, k. Okay, so foci 1 is h minus c, k. h minus c, k. Alright, let's see the last foci here, foci 2, which is, we know that the y coordinate doesn't change, so stay with k. And here we have the x coordinate is h, that will change here, which is, since this foci is on the right, then we have to plus by the distance, which is the distance here is c. So h plus c, k. So that is going to be the coordinate for f2, h plus c, k. Okay, so that is how we are going to find all the coordinate. What's happening here? We have h plus c, k. Okay, so that is how we are going to find the coordinate of the foci and vertex. Okay, minor vertex and major vertex. Okay, as I said earlier, the key point, the key word here is to know your major axis and minor axis, and also the length. You have to know your vertices and you have to know the foci. So this one here you can just ignore. Okay, the latest rectum, you can just ignore that. Okay, so let's do the vertical shape here. So the equation is still the same. The equation of the ellipse is still the same. X minus h square over a square plus y minus k square over b square. So the only thing that will change here is the value of b square and a square, which is here your value of b square is greater than a square. So your shape is gonna be vertical. Okay, sometimes it's gonna be a less than b. Okay, so let's recap here. We know that a and b distance between, let's separate that, distance between center and vertex, which is for horizontal, not horizontal shape. Both shape is the same. Okay, so the distance here is still a. Okay, so b, distance between center and vertex, vertical. Okay, so here is always going to be b. And the last one is c, distance between center and foci. Okay, so that is 3 things that you have to know. So a, b and c. So how are we going to find c? As you can see from the equation, we don't have c. So how to find c, which is the distance between center and foci, is by using this formula here. Okay, c square is equals to b square minus a square, the same formula for horizontal shape. Okay, so let's see here the shape. Let's label everything. So we have the center here. Center is hk. Okay, so we have v1. Doesn't matter v1 or v2 or v3. This one can also be your v1. This one can also be your v2. It doesn't matter. Okay, so let's just put v1 and v2 as our major vertex, but still it doesn't matter. So here is v3. Here is your v4. Okay, so distance between center and vertex horizontal always be A. Okay, this will always be A. Distance between center and vertex vertical always be B. Okay, so here is gonna be B. So now, since you know that the shape is vertical, you know that here is gonna be your major axis. This is major axis, and this is your minor axis. And one more thing that we have to know is the foci. So here is the foci. Let's label that as F1. Here is F2. So the distance between center and foci is your C. Okay, so see the difference here from the previous shape. So here is your C. Okay, alright, so now let's go to the equation here. The equation is still the same. We have x minus h square over a square plus y minus k square over b square equals to 1, which is our a is less than b. Okay, so now let's see the major axis. So as you can see from here, the major axis is the y axis, which is at x equals to h. Okay, so the minor axis is x axis, which is at y equals to k. Okay, so the length of major axis. So here is your major axis, vertical, which is these two lengths here. Since you have B here, so that means we have the length of the major axis for vertical shape is 2b. Oops. Length of major axis here is gonna be equals to 2b, while your length for minor axis is gonna be obviously 2a. Okay, boleh nampak ke ni? Alright, so let's see the center, obviously HK. So now let's see the major vertex here. So we are going to find major vertex, which is we label as V1 and V2. So let's see V1. Okay, so what doesn't change here? Okay, so as you can see from here, the major axis is at H. So H doesn't change. So the only thing that will change here is K. So notice that here, see that the only thing that changed is your H coordinate. Sorry, your, let me see one more time here. Y equals to K. Okay, the only thing that didn't change is your major axis here. So see that K, K, and K, and K here. Okay, for major vertex and foci, because foci lies on the major vertex. So this one here is the same as this one here. Okay, major axis. So for minor axis, what didn't change is x equals to h here. Okay, so here we know that the major axis is x equals to h. That means for major vertex and also the foci, your x coordinate will never change. Okay, so here we have this coordinate that we want to find here. So h didn't change. The only thing that will change here is the y coordinate, which is k. Since this coordinate is above the center, so we have to plus by what? By the distance between center and vertex, which is b. Okay, so that's gonna be your coordinate of V1 here. This is H, K plus B. Okay, so let's see V2. So V2 here, H didn't change, same. Okay, so here we have H, K will change. This coordinate is below the center, that means you have to minus by what? The distance here, which is B. So that's gonna be your coordinate for B2. Okay, so for minor axis, we know that y is equals to k. That means your k, your y coordinate won't change here. So for V3, so the same thing is k. Okay, k will stay as it is. The only thing that will change is x. Okay, x coordinate, so stay as h here. So since this coordinate v3 is on the left, that means you have to minus by the distance, which is a. So h minus a, k. So v3 h minus a, k. And the last one should be v4 equals to h plus a, k. Okay, so let's see the foci. You know that your foci is always lies on the major axis. That means your h will never change. So f1 is equals to h. Okay, so let's see the diagram here. So see that your h will stay the same. So the only thing that will change is your y coordinate. So okay, since this coordinate is above the center, you have to plus. Okay, plus by the distance between center and foci, which is c. So we have h k plus c. So the last one for f2, you are going to get h k minus c. Okay, so this thing you can ignore that. Okay, so that is two shape of ellipse. So I'll see you guys in the next video for the examples of ellipse.